More than 20 million children live in homes without the physical presence of a father. A million more have dads, teachers, and other male figures who are physically present but emotionally absent. If the absence of fathers in the family and the lack of active men in the community was classified as a disease, it would be an epidemic worthy of the attention of a national emergency. The impact can be seen in our schools, homes, hospitals, and prisons. The documentary, Women Calling Men to Action, Save Our Community, it's not a bashing session of black males. It is intended to heighten the awareness. The documentary is to let men know from the perspective of mothers, sisters, and daughters that our community needs them. We need them to become more active in ensuring that our young men gain the developmental skills and the support systems needed to transition from young males into positive, productive, successful adult men.
Hi, I'm Melissa D. White, international speaker, radio host, youth advocate, and founder of Righting Our Wrongs. So funny growing up, the dynamic of men in my family, you're so used to men, being the providers and, outside of the home. But what I witnessed, whether it was my uncles, cousins, they were the nurturers. They were more than a provider. Like, they were the cooks in our family. They are the cooks in our family. And it wouldn't be a holiday or a family reunion or Thanksgiving without seeing my uncle in the kitchen, who's a chef, and he brings a piece of love and comfort to our family. Or even, all of my male cousins that were like my village of protectors. They make me think about even just, African warriors, how they would kind of just rally and, be prepared to protect their women in their village. And they are always that. They're ever present and ready, even when it comes to the basic needs and necessities. They know, even for me being a single black female, they take the responsibility, they take the mantle to look after me until there's a husband or, someone in the picture to do that. And that's what's so beautiful about black men. You're so radically dynamic, and even our elders, we can't forget the black men of previous generations who've seen and done so much, that quiet strength. Those from the era of civil rights to equality, who fought and stood, who may be silent leaders, whether he's the trash collector on the street that you saw every day and waved, whether it's the postman that was, that remembered your family and knew your kids' names. You're a part of our community. We can't, negate that you're necessary. I remember growing up, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was truly my village, and everyone on the street knew who I was. And even the men, like when I walked home from school, they would always check, hey, did Melissa make it home okay? They would check in with my grandmother. They say, hey, I saw Melissa leave. Did she make it home? Whether it was from practice to church, whatever. And I can also remember if our family had a need, that we never went without. Whether it was food, our community always pitched in. We even had a vegetable and fruit man on the street, who made sure, like, hey, if my grandmother didn't have food stamps or we didn't have money, we still had vegetables, we had fruit. He made sure our community had healthy food. And I think about how that's such a big initiative right now to have organic, healthy food. But even back then, he knew how necessary it was for our community to be fed and to be healthy. And that's a black man that did that. He didn't have much, but he fed a whole community. All of these influences, they're a part of me. They're weaved in the fabric of who I am. Even my father, who did the best he could. He may not have known how to be a father. He was just trying to figure out how to be a man when he became a father. But in that, he taught me unconditional love. He taught me unconditional love because him not being perfect, I can't deny that he's my father. I look just like him. I couldn't put him down if I tried. And so he's necessary as a black man, because the older I get as a woman, the more I need him, the more I honor him. And the same with my brother. Siblings are an interesting thing. Whether you talk every day or not, brothers, it's kind of like, okay, I can pick on you, I can talk about you, but nobody else better mess with you. So I honor my little brother, a black man, who is a phenomenal father, who is a coach to other little black boys in baseball, who's a marathon runner, who is a justice fighter. I honor him. And I think about my elders, my grandfather who, wow, my paternal grandfather, today is his birthday. And I honor the working man he was. He was a trash collector. He worked for sanitation, but he did so with a lot of honor and a lot of pride. He's a prideful man. But his stature, he wasn't tall, but he had presence. And you can't erase that. As a child, when you see that kind of strength in your home, you know that it's necessary. So I say today, with the men that we raise and help in our communities, though I'm not a natural mother, I mother them from a place of what I understand and learn about the men who raised me. I see their faces light up when our male volunteers show up. Those children sit at attention. They're focused when there's a man in the room. And it's not that they deny or dishonor me as a woman, but they recognize what's in that man that they need, the foundation in him that they may not get at home. Or they honor it because they see that they have a father and they see that connection in him. So you men, our black men, you're necessary. We need you in our communities.
Hi, my name is Dr. Marita Hodge. I am a chair at Point University for Social and Behavioral Sciences. I also have a private practice, and I do some work for DFACS, do assessments for children who have been removed from the family. In my previous life, I was a school counselor. That was my first, experience working with a bunch of boys. So you could actually say that I know chaos and confusion. I know happy and sadness. I know success and destruction on every level, from a child to a grown man, inside my classroom and inside my practice. When I was first approached with this question of leadership, male leadership in the community, I had to think about what leadership was. Leadership is, for me personally, in my home, is my father, who at 13, 14, I found out wasn't my biological. Leadership for me was my Uncle Austin, who would pick us up and take us all over Connecticut so that we could sing in our choir. Leadership for me was my Uncle Sonny, who would cook the best fried fish in this here United States on a regular for his nieces and nephews and his children. Also, what I do know, leadership is on the streets for these boys. Good, bad, and ugly, it is what it is. We have boys looking at our men and other boys out in the community and seeing the type of leadership that they did not get in the home from a male figure, AKA their fathers. Which means they learn how to be a man on the streets. And in turn, they themselves will have children. And whether they're there or not, who will learn how to be men themselves by any means necessary. So in the school level, worked at one of the roughest inner city schools here in Georgia. It was the most profound experience that I've ever had, to recognize that we've had so many single women raising these boys and then become absent from their lives at the high school level. Had a principal who had to tell us, a need for you to pretend that these children, especially these boys, have no parents, and I need for you to become the mother. So I became the mother for over 600, 700, 800 students every single year. So how does a woman teach a boy how to be a man? It's impossible. All I can do is teach him how to treat a woman based on my experiences. We need the leaders in our community. You understand? Then we have these young men, these young boys grow up to be men, and I get them in my practice. The hardest client that I have, or the most difficult client that I have, is a grown man who has never had a male figure or a father in the home. Because I know automatically he has picked up some habits or his ideal of a man from the streets. And his ideals become his norms. And he doesn't understand why he can't love the way he is supposed to love. Now, mind you, we have these women who they date, who if at any point in time they shed a tear, they are called out or they are criticized. So what happens to these men? They stop being emotional. They stop feeling. And then they take on this persona of being Superman or roughneck or tough. And they forget to know how to cry. They forget to know how to hurt. They forget to know how to be sad. I also was thinking about the men in my classroom. Case in point, had one student, tired every time I saw him. And he recognized that he was Superman. And I had to tell him, sir, you have a superwoman who is by your side. Please understand that and don't disrespect her role and responsibility. I also see in the classroom where we have mothers who talk about their sons, who love their sons, and who say all of the time automatically, I'm the mother and the father, until we have to have a conversation. Ma'am, you cannot be a father. You could be a superwoman, you could be supermom, you could be a beast of a mother, but you can never be a father. And this is where we fall short in the community. Thinking about the leaders in our community, thinking about when I grew up. Actually, let's fall back. Let's think about when my mother grew up. Who did she have? She had Martin Luther King. She had the Kennedy boys. She had Andrew Young. Then when I grew up, who did I have? I had the Reverend Jesse Jackson. We had Al Sharpton, him and his cool hair. We had all of that. And we appreciated that. And I didn't have to really step outside myself to do what I needed to do. You know what I'm saying? And when I say do what I needed to do, it means fight on the front lines, because we had those leaders in our community. We had somebody that the young boys and the grown men could look towards and rally with to support them in their causes. But who do we have now? We have the Black Lives Matter movement, and we have young boys who are hurting, young boys who are tired, young boys who refuse to get beat down and refuse to get killed for nothing. And what do? Most of the leaders now, who used to be leaders in my day, they criticize them. They won't rally with them. The one thing that we are responsible for, if we're not going to get on the front line, then we need to help and support them by any means necessary. This means we need to teach them how to do what needs to get done so we can get done the right way without any more lives being taken. This is unfortunate. Recently I was watching some show. I don't know what it was, but I remember the former leader saying something so disrespectful, and he called young man with the Black Lives Matter movement a brat. And in my head, I'm thinking, how dare you talk about a young man when you won't even pick up the phone to talk to that young man? You should remember what you went through. All the issues are the same. It's just presenting in a different way. No, I'm not saying that you can't be, the only way you can be a leader is get out on the street. Because we can be a leader anywhere. We could be a role model anywhere. We could show the face of respect and integrity and genuineness anywhere. In the classrooms, at the schools, inside the churches. You can always sit down with somebody and have a teachable and a learnable moment. Respect who you are. Respect who they are. Respect their story and rally behind them.
Hello, my name is Charlotta Smith, and I'm a juvenile court probation officer. My aspect on why Black male leaders are important to have in our community is that our children need a positive image to follow. In today's society, our juveniles are impressed with the entertainment industry, social media, and music. Typically, they don't have a male in the home and they are absent. Even if they do have a father involved, they are with the hustle and bustle of the day's world of working. And when they do come home, they do not have the time to give to their children. I was reading an article that stated that typical Black males who are in the home that are working tends to only give 10 minutes to their children in a day. So it's very important for us to understand how we do need males in our schools, our education systems, we need our small business owners, and we just need people in the community. Growing up as a child, we've always heard people say that we're sponges. We would hear our parents say that whatever we do, you're gonna do. You're gonna imitate what you hear and what you see. And I have noticed in my career that that is true. Working with the juveniles in today's community, I see the sagging of the pants, I see the disrespect towards authority, and I find myself seeing that they're getting this information typically from their friends, from social media, from music videos, from the entertainment industry. And they see them as their role models. They don't understand the importance of hard work to gain respect. They feel gaining respect comes from fear. So they typically do things that causes them to get a criminal charge, just so they could not be considered lame or a punk, but to fit in with their peers. It is very hard to steer a young man who has had an absent father in the right direction, because I am a woman. It is very important for them to understand and to see someone that looks like them. I feel that in our community, our positive Black males need to take a stand by telling them about their strifes and their struggles. Tell the story. You are not always successful. You too have a past. How can they overcome and become successful like you are? So I think it's very important for our African American males to press upon and be a powerful spokesperson for our youth. I say this because in my community, I have noticed that a lot of people have become successful but have moved out of the community. They never come back home. They never give back to where they came from. So when we use them as examples to the youth, they're like, where are they? They're not visible. It is very important for them to be able to have a one-on-one conversation, for them to be able to be physical, for them to be able to see and touch and engage with a positive male. We always ask, what can we do different in our community? Ways can be very small. A male who is successful, if they see a young man who has gotten off on the wrong track, just talk to him, have a conversation. Say something positive. Give them some affirmation to let them know that they are important, someone does care. A lot of times in our community, we see the youth doing things that are not right, or that they are hanging on the, let's use an example of hanging on the block, hanging on the street corner. Well, why are they on that street corner? Are they there just hanging out with friends, or are they hanging out because they're waiting on the drug dealer to come by and to make a quick sale? Why are they there? We know why they're there. This is not the first time that we've seen this in our community, but do we stop and address it? Typically what I hear is they're too disrespectful. They are, you say something to them, you can't talk to them. My suggestion to that is the gang members don't stop. If they're interested in you and they want you in their clique, they're going to continue to come after these youth. So as a positive male role model, you have to continue to be visible, to be present, to be heard. It is just so important for our young men to know that we're willing to not throw in the towel, not to give up, but to just stay in and stay in the strife, because it's not going to be easy. Anything that has happened in the community, and people, typically what we see is that we try to throw the Bible at our youth. And if they've had anything tragic to happen in their life, or if they feel that they have been let down, then that steers them away from wanting to come to Christ. How can we fix that? And that starts with that simple conversation. That starts with that affirmation that you are important and you are wonderfully made, and that you can be strong and powerful in America without committing crimes. Just look at our ancestors. We as women stand on shoulders of great people. What about our men? So I do feel that, coming from my role, that it is very important for us to take a moment to make these suggestions to our males of how important, and remind them that they are important to the community. Remind them of their roles. Remind them that typically the homes are full of single parent mothers who are trying to, as someone said before me, teach them how to be a man. And we know that that is something that a woman cannot do. So it starts with our small Black business owners. It starts with our athletes. It starts with our rappers. I just say again that it is very important to make sure that we have Black male leaders present in the community.
Hi, my name is Chisara Greer, and I am a customer service rep currently. And I am just speaking about our community and what's needed in our community. Years ago, I was raised by a mother who taught us in the home, basically, the importance of just the family structure of the man and the woman, and how the man and the woman are supposed to be in unison together to raise a family. And the fact that I was taught this at home, it just kind of stuck with me throughout all of my life. And I really have a love for our Black men. It's not that I don't have a love for our sisters, because I am, yes, for the sisters always. Don't get it twisted, but I have a desire and a love for our men. I want our men to succeed. I want our men to excel in all areas of his life, because I was taught that if he exceeds in all areas of his life, so does his wife, so does his family, and on and on and on. The importance of the Black man is, without a shadow of a doubt, as phenomenal as it was as I was a young child being taught. Mind you, even though I look young, I am 43 years old, not ashamed to admit it. I thank God for every year. So it's as important as it was then as it is today, even more so today because of the things that I see, the things that are going on today. Basically, learning about the biblical stance and finding out after reading for myself the Bible and learning about how the man is sought after. He's really sought after by the enemy. And when I really put it together, I understood that the man is sought after because he was created to be the head. Now, we see different soldiers come back from war, and they are without a limb. They are without maybe an arm or a leg, and they are still having successful lives and productive lives. We have yet to see with our physical bodies anybody walking around without a head. It's not doable. And so if the Bible says that the man was created the head of the body, of his family, for a reason, if he is not there, if he is out of place, then the body is not operable. It's not that it cannot function. It cannot live. It cannot survive. And it is vital. It is so important for the man to be there. I promote different groups that I hear are are together and trying to do different things when it comes down to promoting our young men. I thank God for the coaches who volunteer and they give their time without any pay, without any, recognition a lot of times, a little trophy at the end of the year. But really, they're doing that out of, the majority of them are doing it out of their hearts, out of a good gesture, out of something that they were taught probably as well, just giving back. And I hear, though, on the flip side, so many men say, you know what, Chi, I want to get involved, but I'm just not quite there yet. I don't know if I'll be accepted. We need you now, today, just as you are. We need you. We need you. I cannot teach my young, soon-to-be 18-year-old son how to be a man. I cannot teach my 11-year-old son how to be a man. I can teach him anything when it comes down to the woman's perspective of things. I share very candidly, very honestly, and very openly everything with my kids. However, I cannot teach them how to be men. Your perspective, not when you feel like you're at a good place, not when you think, oh, you know what, I could probably reach out to this group now and and probably mentor some of the boys now. We need you right now just as you are. We need you, ex-convict, who has now survived jail, and you are now out in our community, and now you feel like you have nothing to give back. Why is that? You have everything to give back because you have actually gone through a system, you've come out on the other side. You can now prevent, being preventative to some things that maybe the next young man would stumble on the same path. Your testimony is needed for our young men. And I don't understand exactly why we tend to fall back, why our brothers tend to fall back in this area. Because everything that you've gone through, you've survived it for a reason. Yes, you too, Mr. Dope Man. You used to sell drugs and you used to do your thing and you no longer do it anymore. And you feel like, well, I don't want to go and talk about that. I don't want to relive that. We need you. We need you to go back and relive that just for a moment. Because if sharing what you went through and how you were and how you basically came out of that lifestyle and you're still here today, and now you've switched your mindset. You're no longer hustling on the side with the dope on the streets. Now you've switched your mindset, and now you are an entrepreneur, and now you are working at some sort of corporation, or now you have switched and you're making it better and you're making your life more productive in a wholesome, honest way. We need for you to input and plant seeds in these young boys who are looking at the dope man, thinking that that's some type of life when we know that it's just a fantasy. It's just a facade. It comes and it goes just as easy as it comes and it goes. So I'm just pleading to our men today and letting you know, men, we need you. We have a lot of sisters out there. We're not trying to bash you. We are your #1 supporters. We are your #1 supporters. And we want you to please continue to. If you haven't started, you can start today. You can start today. Start planting your seeds. It is your obligation to plant your seeds so that they can continue to grow and we can save our community. Thank you.
Hi, hello, everyone. My name is Nimat Rashid, and I'm really honored to be here today to speak about a crisis in the community, and it is a crisis in the Black community in particular. And that crisis is the lack of male role models, the lack of fathers in the home. And I have a son. I have 3 children, 2 daughters and 1 son. And I have 3 grandsons. I'm sorry, I have 3 grandsons. So I am uniquely qualified to speak on the importance of saving our young boys and our teenagers and men. It's really, it's heavy on my heart. When my daughter mentioned this subject to me and invited me to come and talk, I was honored because there is seriously a need in the Black community for male role models. We have to understand, you all, that we are under attack. We're doing all we can as mothers. We have phenomenal mothers in the community, phenomenal mothers that are holding it down all by themselves. I am one of them. I'm a single parent that raised a Black male, and he turned out, thank God, after many struggles, he turned out to be fine. He's a barber, and he loves his job. I'm proud of that, but I did it as a single mother. It's unfair, it makes me angry, and all of that we are subjected to being in that position. Because, and I don't want to always blame other people, but we have to keep this real. We're under attack through no fault of our own. Systemic racism. The prisons are filled with Black men for minor crimes. Many of them are spending too many years in jail, instead of allowing them to come back into society to be role models. Some of them have been rehabilitated, but they're still sitting and rotting in jail. A lot of that is systemic. A lot of that is by design, just as, and I'm going to deviate for a minute, just as the killings of our brothers. Many of them are being shot down on the street by each other. Many of them are being shot down on the streets by racist police officers with a badge and a license to kill, basically. And they're targeting, our boys are being targeted. And we have to understand that. We are under attack, y'all. We have to take our boys, do all we can with them, protect them by any means necessary, to coin Malcolm X's phrase. But we have to do all we can to help them. Our men our young men, my little Mian, who is my grandson, starting middle school, I worry about him. I shouldn't have to have that worry. He should be able to go to school and enjoy his little 6th grade experience without the possibility of being killed, without the possibility of being attacked on his first day of school, and by another Black male. So we have to examine what more can we do? What more can we do? Since we understand that there are some issues, we understand they're under attack. So what do we do as mothers? As a woman, God created male and female. He did not design this to be like it is. This is abnormal, y'all. This is not real. This is abnormal that we're living. What we're going through is not the way God intended it. He made male and he made female, right? And when you take the male away, you got the female who is walking around hopping on one leg, basically. When you don't have your mate, when you don't have a man in the household, you're basically operating as a half. It's almost like walking around hopping on one leg, because that's not the way the Creator intended it. I get kind of excited and emotional when I talk about this, because it's so unfair. But you know what? We've been equipped, we're strong. You've always heard that cliche about the Black woman, and I bear witness, it's true. We have the strength of a mountain if we have to, when it comes to protecting our children. And we have beautiful children, beautiful young boys. I remember once I stopped a potential fight among teenagers, and I saw that they had gathered together. It must have been about 20 of them. And they had just gotten off the school bus, and I was in the back of the school bus, and they were headed to an apartment complex, and it was about maybe 20 of them. And I saw where 2 was getting ready to fight, okay? And I'm like that. I got involved. I followed them over to the apartment complex. One of them had put his book bag down. The other one had put his book bag down. I saw they getting ready to fight. Excuse me. So anyway, I followed them. And I would advise anyone to do this. We have to embrace our boys. We cannot be afraid of them. And that ticks me off too when I see black women afraid of their own sons. We raised them. We gave birth to these boys. And sometimes that's all they need is a little love and care. I followed them over to the apartment complex, and they were getting ready to fight. One of them swung at the other one. I jumped out of my car, said, "Stop it." I just made them stop on the spot. Stop it. You do not fight each other. Can't y'all see how they trying to lock all y'all up already? Don't give them a reason to lock you up, young man. And I was speaking to both of them. Do you know what happened as a result of that? They stopped. They didn't disrespect me. They didn't call me out my name. It was almost like they wanted to have someone to intervene. They didn't really want to fight. But because their peer group, the little boys that were with them, were egging them on, I jumped out of my car and got right between them. I said, "Stop it. You're not going to fight today. You need to love each other. You're already under attack. Don't you see the jails, and don't you watch the news? Don't you see you're under attack?" That's how I talked to them. Not one of them disrespected me. And so they got their little book bag. They must have been like maybe 14, 15 years old, got their little book bags, and they walked away. And I stayed there until they got to where they were going to go. It's that kind of activism and that kind of love and concern for our children, our boys, we have to get involved with, and in order to grow them into young men, because we need strong, capable young men. And I mean, it's up to us. We are the mothers. We are the mothers. And we have to just take on our role as mothers. And it doesn't mean just in your home. Mothering goes outside of the home. In fact, that's where it's needed the most. That's about all I have to say. I could go on, but I'm going to stop right now. Y'all got me about ready to preach up in here.